Modern pop culture is a battlefield, and toxic fans lurk around every corner, rubbing their moist palms at the thought of sinking your favorite franchise.
Toxic fandom.
Toxic fandom.
Toxic fandom. It's this toxic fandom that's a problem.
That is the favorite song of the modern corporate journalist. Toxic fans have become the boogeyman that Hollywood studios dread, and journalists use as a scapegoat for backlash against entertainment that they like. They have been blamed for taking down movies, shows, and entire franchises through the sheer power of ridicule and alleged review bombing. If you ask anyone what a toxic fan is, they will point to someone on the other side of a movie or show that they cherish. Putting the straw men and cheap insults aside, you realize that no matter who you ask, the toxic fan will simply be someone that disagrees. Some fans of Star Wars hated the all-new direction of the sequel trilogies, while others couldn't wait for the Force to take on a new identity. Some fans loved the heroes of the first two phases of the MCU, while 5 people couldn't wait for beloved entries like She-Hulk, Riri Williams, and the Eternals. A lot of this comes down to temperament and values. What makes a fan toxic is their criticism, and who a toxic fan is depends on the vantage point of the person making the accusation. Fans, toxic or otherwise, have the power to change the course of entertainment. Beyond the unavoidable exchanges of insults and vicious trolling, it's important to know who toxic fans are and where they really come from. It is impossible to cover all possible perspectives, but modern fandoms in the Anglosphere can be broadly generalized into 2 groups. Some fans want franchises to respect source material and the values of their original creators, despite how the world changes. For brevity, we will refer to them as legends. Other fans want their favorite franchises to change with them and reflect their contemporary identities, values, and sensitivities. We will refer to these as warriors. Beneath these preferences are personal political and social values. Warriors tend to want past media to be edited for present audiences and future media to prioritize current social values, which are typically progressive. Legends tend to want to preserve past media no matter which form that may take, and for future media to be simply escapist or avoid contemporary political messages. The culture war is unrelenting, with each side eager to steer pop culture into their perspective. If you are passionate about a franchise and not afraid to express your views, chances are that someone out there thinks that you are a toxic fan. Whether you participate or not, how this world goes will determine what you see in the media and at the cinema. Understanding the desires and impacts of these 2 factions is integral to exploring how each faction might affect pop culture. Well, let's find out who toxic fans are, where to find them, and why some people think that you are a toxic fan. The world is changing, and so must all our entertainment, past, present, and future. That is the heart of the pop culture warrior. Warriors promote contemporary socio-political influences on pop culture. They decry outdated tropes, values, and casting of older entertainment in favor of modern stories, social values, and representation.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
You see, the past got everything wrong, and it's up to modern creators to set this straight by deconstructing the past and promoting all that is new and improved. This fandom comprises most media journalists and corporate outlets.
No shit.
Warriors applaud modern studio efforts to deconstruct, modernize, and reimagine franchises. Doesn't matter that Tolkien was Catholic and intended for Lord of the Rings to be a mythology for medieval Britain, new Tolkien adaptations should reflect the racial demographics of today because representation.
At the end of the day, Tolkien died in the 70s. So it's up to us, to basically step our game up and see how his works can respond through the world that they created to the challenges of today.
What did you say?
It doesn't matter that men and women are physically and temperamentally different on average.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
All female characters should be stoic warriors capable of taking down men 3 times their size because empowerment. Doesn't matter that the alphabet was a rare minority in the 20th century comics. Established characters are now queer because that is the future that you want.
Superheroes are a very queer kind of story. Most superheroes are in the closet.
Right.
Given their shared values with Hollywood, the Warriors make up many critics with perks and early access to screenings and premieres. For this, their critics often call them corporate shills or shill media.
The shill content creators and the shill fan sites.
Now, there is an argument to be made that receiving privileges from studios is a conflict of interest. While these conflicts of interest must always be disclosed, it's simply uncharitable to always dismiss their opinions as biased and dishonest. Having favorable reviews for studio movies might just reflect shared views and not some malicious intent to mislead audiences or carry water for these studios.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
If Warriors had their way with pop culture, movies would prioritize the progressive perspectives of the West today. Demographics and social causes of today would be reflected in all media regardless of its setting and context. Old movies that do not meet today's progressive standards would be deconstructed and reimagined to be inoffensive to modern audiences. New entertainment would be screened for sensitivity to protected groups. This is the mindset behind most race and gender swaps or queering of characters in comics and franchises like The Witcher. It is the perspective behind the censorship of politically incorrect content from movies, shows, and stand-up comedy. If Warriors had their way, pop culture would be safe from offense, and new entertainment would incorporate progressive priorities like feminism, critical theory, and the alphabet. The one-sided agreement and push of the Warriors and media left a fandom-shaped hole in the pop culture. As self-authoring platforms like YouTube grew, a new breed of fan carved out a space on the pop culture scene.
Me and a lot of my co-hosts from FNT have traveled across the country this year to do meetups to talk to our fellow members of the audience, and the one thing I hear the most was, I thought I was alone. And as I've always said, this has always been bigger. We've all noticed the degradation of our culture, and we were all told we were crazy for noticing it.
Wow, you're in good company.
Generally, the legends love modern political correctness and all its influences in media. This often aligns them with politically incorrect humor and conservation of what worked in the past. Legends maintain that past entertainment should be preserved and no demographic is special, and new adaptations must respect their source material.
I hate this idea of we need to soften and we need to start altering these movies from the past without the permission of the people who made them, just to make them more palatable to modern audiences, because God forbid someone might get offended by them somewhere. No, leave them the alone. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, they should. These are works of art. They should be left alone as they were intended to be shown.
Legends cherish 20th century hits, revere classic features like the hero's journey, and promote the preservation of past cinema, regardless of whether they agree with its message or times change. It's safe to say that these fans are underrepresented in corporate media. Legends decry modern reimaginations and deconstructions of legacy characters in franchises like Star Trek, Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings, for example. To this crowd, it matters that the elves and dwarves of Middle-earth look like Tolkien intended them to. It matters that legacy characters like Luke Skywalker and Picard remain remarkable and revered, instead of being belittled to boost a slate of all new heroes for modern audiences. It matters that historical cinema, fiction, and mythology is depicted with the demographics and dynamics of its time and place. It goes without saying that legends are seldom invited to the Academy Awards, red carpets, or conventions. For their desire to preserve past entertainment and decry contemporary messages, critics of the legends call them bigoted and accuse them of all kinds of isms.
Internet man-babies crying about gender flip cast, the Ghostbusters remake is actually pretty goddamn decent.
They're just bigot assholes.
Go and find one of your echo chamber websites where you can all stand around and jerk each other off while you tilt your head backs and go, woke, woke.
Wait a minute.
The twins are two hood niggas that talk ridiculous jive.
That one didn't age quite so well.
Studios have mastered this tactic as a way to deflect all criticism, regardless of its merit. Got a garbage news show? Just throw in a diverse actor and call all your detractors racist and sexist. Even better if you can handpick some actually bigoted insults and pretend that represent all your critics. This conveniently ignores the fact that the same people that loved the Blade franchise loathed the Black Panther franchise. The same people that liked Alita Battle Angel also slammed Captain Marvel in the same year. The same audience that liked Black Widow, Falcon, and Thor in Phase 2 of the MCU mock these characters in Phase 4.
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
You went full retard, man.
The common theme is that legends do not like contemporary progressive politics injected into movies, especially through established characters that were created with different stories in mind.
I love nothing more than to be dragged out at every conceivable opportunity so you can current day us. Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Pronouns! Current day Californian shit! Because that's all we know! Because we're boring!
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
These fans prefer that entertainment is made to entertain first and foremost, and that critical shows like Amazon's The Boys are balanced in their critique. Failure of their critics to understand this is why the legends popped up in the first place and why their legions continue to grow. If legends had their way, old entertainment and filmcraft would be preserved, all demographics would be fair game for criticism, ridicule, and humor without exception, and entertainment would be judged by its popularity and profitability. This is the mindset behind highly profitable hits like Top Gun Maverick and popular controversial hits like Tropic Thunder. If legends had their way, pop culture would ignore political correctness and new entertainment would be escapist, stick to its source material, and avoid promoting contemporary messages. Once again, this video is an oversimplified view of the kinds of fans out there and why they may be perceived as toxic. Human beings are complex. Most people will have different perspectives on entertainment at once and certainly over time. Who you find toxic will depend on you, what you look for in entertainment, what you think the function of entertainment is, and what type of society you want to live in. If you believe that you have what it takes to edit other people's work to fit your values, or that entertainment should always represent you and the world that you live in, or believe that entertainment should promote Western progressive priorities of today, then you will see the legends as toxic.
Snow White, in general, you don't normally see Snow Whites that are of Latin descent. When it got announced, it was a huge thing that was like trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry. And so it was like
those people.
Very much this, yes, it was
the
this
people
awakening
that we need to educate. People that we need to educate.
A living embodiment of all that you hate about the past and an old guard that upholds values that you consider outdated and harmful. The ultimate obstacle to the utopia that your new ideas would create. Alternatively, if you believe in preserving past work despite its values and merits or lack thereof, or would like to keep as little off limits no matter who it offends, or believe that entertainment should entertain and avoid or balance political perspectives, you'll see the warriors as toxic.
Bottom line, why do they want to destroy Lord of the Rings? Because it's their holy grail. It's a traditional story by a traditional guy that just so happens to be insanely popular, and they're running out of popular things to twist and mutate into their platforms of influence and then ultimately destroy. These aren't fans of Tolkien. They despise him. That's why they need to reinterpret, reimagine, or make accessible.
A malignant pox that subverts, devalues, and deconstructs work without any creativity or merit of its own. A disease that defaces media and culture to push a fractured, sanitized dystopia.
It is evolving, just backwards.
The culture war is here to stay, and both legends and warriors will continue to battle. Entertainment is part of culture, and politics is downstream of culture. In some cases, politics can command entertainment, as we've seen in places like California. Ultimately, the future will be decided by the normie in the middle, the person that's too busy with life to participate in this culture war and simply turns on the TV at the end of the day to wind down with good, familiar entertainment. If the normie likes what they see, they will stay, and if they don't, they switch off. Entertainment that most people like will stay in the culture, and profits from it will generate similar entertainment for studios that want to stay profitable. Entertainment that most people do not like will gain infamy and quickly become a fart in the wind that blows adamant creators and studios into debt and destruction. Whichever way it goes will take time, and hopefully you will be here to see it. That's all for this video. Are you tuned into the culture war? Who do you think are toxic fans? Are you a warrior or are you a legend? Let me know what you think down below. Cheers to all in the Relentless Fellowship, and to all seeing this channel for the first time, welcome. You stay tuned and stay cool.
Sort of world, this culture of toxic fandom, where like if you make a movie, especially if you make a superhero movie, like you have great intentions, but there are always going to be a small yet vocal group of people there can kind of just be toxic.
I understand what you're saying, but when it comes to fans, it is a fan's right to have whatever opinion they want to have. And people are going to be upset because, especially when you're talking about books or games, because you're never going to be the exact person who they had in their head or who they played on Witcher 3, for example. I don't necessarily consider that toxic. I just consider that passionate.